Hello, everyone. Here we are. We're going to do Genesis 44. And if you remember correctly, Joseph is really troubling his brothers, but he's testing them too. He wants to find out where they're at. Now, last night I had asked about the guy at the door who said, "Don't worry about it. Your God has given you the treasure in your sacks, the silver. And I received your money." Well, that was actually in past tense, and I wasn't understanding that. I looked it up in Enduring Word, and it said that the steward was saying, "I did receive your money, but your money was given back to you," is what he's saying without saying it. He's saying, don't worry, your God has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your money. Okay, so he's letting them know that was given back to them. Okay, so let's go with Genesis 44 and see what happens at dinner. We know that Benjamin was given a much larger portion of food than the rest of the brothers. Now, they were all sitting at different tables. Joseph was eating alone. The brothers were eating together. The Egyptians under Joseph were eating at another table because apparently it wasn't kosher to eat with the Hebrews if you were Egyptian. So this is where we're at. So let's go. Now, Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house, and we know that that's the steward that said, "Don't worry about it, I received your money." So let's start again. Now, Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. "Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain." So Joseph is really giving them this food for free. They're giving the payment, he's giving it back, okay? But he's doing something different here with his youngest brother, or his only other brother from the mother, Rachel, who was the love of Jacob's life. He's going to put his own cup in Benjamin's sack. So you know there's something cooking here, all right? And he did as Joseph said, the steward did. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They'd not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and also uses for divination?'" Once again, we're hearing about divination, which is magic. It's soothsaying. It's, rolling the dice. In today's terms, we might, I want to say throwing the I Ching, but I don't know enough about the I Ching to say anything about that. Maybe it would be like setting out tarot cards. Okay, it's reading signs, however he's doing it. This is a wicked thing you've done. So once again, Joseph is playing a game here, but he wants to test everything, okay? When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them. But they said to him, "Why does my Lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouths of our sacks. So why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he'll die, and the rest of us will become my Lord's slaves." So they're very sure that nobody of their group, of their number, has stolen anything. "Very well, then," he said, "let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame." Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest, which would be Benjamin. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, "What is this you've done? Don't you know that a man like me can find things out by divination?" "What can we say to my lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves, we ourselves and the one who was found to have the cup." But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace." What a way to get his little brother back, huh? Then Judah went up to him and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My lord asked his servants, 'Do you have a father or a brother?' And we answered, 'We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he's the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him.'" So Judah is pleading for him to not keep Benjamin because it's going to kill Jacob. "Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me so I can see him for myself.' And we said to my lord, 'The boy can't leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die.' But you told your servants, 'Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again.' When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my lord had said. Then our father said, 'Go back and buy a little more food.' But we said, 'We cannot go down. Only if our youngest brother is with us will we go. We can't see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us.' Your servant, my father, said to us, 'You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me,'" meaning Joseph, "and I said, 'He's surely been torn to pieces, and I've not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you'll bring my gray head down to the grave in misery. So now if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant, my father, and if my father, whose life is closely, excuse me, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servants will bring the gray head of our father down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I don't bring him back to you, I'll bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please let your servants remain here as my lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come on my father." Genesis 45. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence!" So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Can you imagine? Because they threw him in a pit and then pulled him out and sold him to Ishmaelite traders who sold him in Egypt. Can you imagine how scared you'd be when you're standing in the presence of a person you wronged like that? You know, I got to bring up my daughters here, my daughter and my granddaughter. I'm absolutely positive that the two of them are terrified to see me, to face me. You know you've harmed someone in an unbelievable way, and that person has let you go, you don't know what that person's thinking anymore. You don't know if they want to kill you or if they've forgiven you. You don't know. And here they are standing in front of Joseph. Now, my girls don't want to find out where I'm at. They're too ashamed and too scared. They should be ashamed anyway. And I'm sure there's shame in there, whether they're in denial of it or not. But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now don't be distressed and don't be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." Excuse me. For 2 years now, there's been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. Boy, that's interesting. Who knows what will happen with me and my daughters? So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, "This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me and don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me, you, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute." So he's telling them, get your butts down here. Then, because it's going to be easier for him to make sure they're fed if they're right there in his sight. Then he threw his arm around his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin embraced him weeping, and he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward, his brothers talked with him. How sweet forgiveness is. You know, how sweet and how gracious of Joseph to say, "Look, the Lord did it all, okay? The Lord sent me here for a reason, so don't bear this guilt anymore." How gracious. He could have been so mean. He could have done anything to them. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, do this, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt and you can enjoy the fat of the land." Boy, that's favor for all the suffering that his father Jacob went through, huh? "You are also directed to tell them, do this. Take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings because the best of all Egypt will be yours." This is because of the favor that Joseph has. So the sons of Israel, Jacob, did this. Joseph gave them carts as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for the journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way." Now that's interesting because remember, they were quarreling about what to do with Joseph when they were out tending sheep near Dothan. And then they saw Joseph coming because Jacob had sent him out there to check up on them. And they started arguing about how they should deal with him because remember, Reuben, the firstborn, was saying, "Let's not kill him." Okay, so it's funny that he's saying, "Don't quarrel on the way. Something bad might happen." So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he's ruler of all Egypt." Jacob was stunned. He didn't believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, "I'm convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Boy, I want a revived spirit regarding my granddaughter. I miss her terribly. You know, it's hard because I raised her and I just miss talking to her. I miss conversations. You know, it's terrible. All right, Genesis 46. So Israel set out with all that was his, and when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. Best answer. I've told you, if you hear your name called, say, here I am. I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I'll make you into a great nation there. I'll go down to Egypt with you, and I'll surely bring you back again. And Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. What a comfort as we grow older to know, because just today I was thinking about being on my deathbed at some future point, hopefully 35 years from now. And I thought, I so hope that Juliet is there with me. I mean, I hope I'm surrounded with loved ones. For a moment, I thought, well, no, I won't know Juliet anymore. But I hope there are loved ones there, not to be morbid. It's just the way it is, okay? But that's a great promise, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. I mean, I kind of covet that promise for Juliet. Then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's sons took their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the carts that Pharaoh had sent to transport him. So Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt, taking with them their livestock and the possessions that they'd acquired in Canaan. Uh-oh, hold on, bear with me here. Let me see, I'm going to show you, the computer just turned off, so bear with me. I want to show you Jackson. Hold on while I do these technical things here. I didn't realize my battery was low. You get to look at Jackson in his new home. I put some gravel in there for him. I think I showed you a picture of it. All right, here we go. Let's plug the computer in. All right, hold on. We're getting there. All right, here we go. It's going to probably make me sign in again. Now we were on Genesis 46, and here we are. All right, I'm coming back to you now. You get to see my Spanish doll in the curio cabinet over there. Okay, here we go. All right, so the Lord is talking to him now and said, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. Here, I'm going to turn it so that we don't have the red lamp in the way. Okay. Then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's sons took their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the carts that Pharaoh had sent to transport him. So Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt, taking with them their livestock and the possessions they had acquired in Canaan. Jacob brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons and his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. Can you imagine how exciting that would be for Joseph to see all of his family and relatives? These are the names of the sons of Israel, Jacob and his descendants who went to Egypt. Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob, the sons of Reuben, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Er. Remember, was struck dead by the Lord. Onan, another one that was struck dead by the Lord. Shelah, who was not given to Tamar as a husband, so she got sons from Judah himself. Perez and Zerah, those were Tamar's sons. But and Onan had died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Perez, Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Pua, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These were the sons Leah bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. These sons and daughters of his were 33 in all. The sons of Gad, Zephon, Haggai, Shunai, Esbon. What is that? Eri, Arodai, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Their sister was Sarah. The sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchiel. These were the children born to Jacob by Zilpah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Leah, 16 in all. The sons of Jacob's wife Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. So there's a summation sentence and then there's a title sentence for the next lot. So these were the children born to Jacob by Zilpah. That's the summation statement. Then it starts, the sons of Jacob's wife Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. In Egypt, Manasseh and Ephraim were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These were makes you understand where fantasy names come from in fairy tales, huh? Ard, A-R-D. These were the sons of Rachel who were born to Jacob, 14 in all. There's the summation statement. Now, there's the title, the son of Dan, Husham. Dan had one son, Husham. The sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, Gunai, Jezer, and Shalem. These were the sons born to Jacob by Bilhah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Rachel, 7 in all. That's the summation statement. All those who went to Egypt with Jacob, those who were his direct descendants, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66 persons. With the 2 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family, which went to Egypt, were 70 in all. Okay, so including those sons, there's 70 in all. Now, the members of Jacob which went to Egypt were 70. Okay, I don't know how we went from 66 to 70 when there's only 2 sons, but maybe he's now I don't know. Now, Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Israel said to Joseph, "Now I'm ready to die, since I've seen for myself that you're still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I'll go up and speak to Pharaoh and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were living in the land of Canaan have come to me. The men are shepherds, they tend livestock, and they've brought along their flocks and herds and everything they own. When Pharaoh calls you in and asks, 'What is your occupation?' you should answer, 'Your servants have tended livestock from our boyhood on, just as our fathers did.' Then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians." Oh my goodness. By the way, if you hear water trickling, it's the fountain that I showed you that I got a while back. So sometimes it's perfectly silent, like when I really fill it up with water, but otherwise it does make a trickling. So that's what you're hearing. Okay, last one for the night, Genesis 47. Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father and brothers with their flocks and herds and everything they own have come from the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen." He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" Your servants are shepherds, they replied to Pharaoh, just as our fathers were. They also said to him, we have come to live here for a while because the famine is severe in Canaan, and your servants' flocks have no pasture. So now please let your servants settle in Goshen. Pharaoh said to Joseph, your father and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in Goshen, and if you know of any among them with special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock. Then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked him, how old are you? And Jacob said to Pharaoh, the years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, and they don't equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers. Yeah, those were like 700 years. Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramses, as Pharaoh had directed. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food according to the number of their children. There was no food, however, in the whole region because the famine was severe. Both Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan in payment for the grain they were buying, and he brought it to Pharaoh's palace. When the money of the people of Egypt and Canaan was gone, all Egypt came to Joseph and said, give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? Our money's all gone. Then bring your livestock, said Joseph. I'll sell you food in exchange for your livestock since your money's gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange for their horses, their sheep and goats, their cattle and donkeys. And he brought them through that year with food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the following year and said, we can't hide from our Lord the fact that since our money is gone and our livestock belongs to you, there's nothing left for our Lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we perish before your eyes, we and our land as well? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will be in bondage to Pharaoh. Boy, this is scaring me, especially since I'm looking at America and I'm looking at the world and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, because looks like famine is in the works. Hopefully it won't hit us. Give us seed so that we may live and not die, and that the land may not become desolate. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. The Egyptians, one and all, sold their fields because the famine was too severe for them. The land became Pharaoh's, and Joseph reduced the people to servitude from one end of Egypt to the other. Wow. He's made Pharaoh rich for sure, but now everybody in Egypt is a slave. However, he did not buy the land of the priests because they received a regular allotment from Pharaoh and had food enough from the allotment Pharaoh gave them. That's why he didn't sell their land. Joseph said to the people, now that I've bought you and your land today for Pharaoh, here's seed for you so you can plant the ground. But when the crop comes in, give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh. The other 4/5 you may keep as seed for the fields and as food for yourself and your households and your children. You have saved our lives, they said. It's that statement, how much will a man give for his life? To live, we're going to give everything we have, aren't we? May we find favor in the eyes of our Lord. We will be in bondage to Pharaoh. In other words, that's fine. Just make sure we're eating. So Joseph established it as a law concerning land in Egypt, still in force today, that 1/5 of the produce belongs to Pharaoh. It was only the land of the priests that did not become Pharaoh's. Now, the Israelites settled in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly in number. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, and the years of his life were 147. When the time drew near for Israel to die, he called for his son Joseph and said to him, If I have found favor in your eyes, put your hand under my thigh. Remember, that's how they do oaths. And promise that you will show me kindness and faithfulness. Don't bury me in Egypt. But when I rest with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me where they are buried. I will do as you say, he said. Swear to me, he said. Then Joseph swore to him, and Israel worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. You know, it is important, I think, to die in your homeland if you can. I have a friend right now who's dying or is at death's door with a hemorrhagic stroke. It's touch and go. He still can't open his eyes or breathe on his own. It's been about 9 days. So we don't know what's going to happen to him. But he's 1,000 miles away from home. I mean, so this is like, in a way, it's a real tragedy to be this far away, okay? And be dying. And hopefully he's not dying. He's certainly got all of us standing in the gap for him. If you think of him, please pray for Michael. Michael is actually the founder of the Christian metal band Bloodgood, and he is suffering right now. I don't know what caused, he's very healthy, so I don't know what caused the stroke. Hemorrhagic strokes are usually due to high blood pressure or drugs and alcohol, and certainly Michael is not drugs and alcohol, does not do drugs and alcohol. It could be that he got the vaccination. I don't know if you've seen I put it up on my site, the documents from Pfizer, but it lists almost 1,300, just shy of 1,295 side effects that were encountered during the trials, apparently, and they're all there. Aside from that, I want to say something. When I was about 16, I ran away from home and with a friend, and we really went up into the mountains. And there are some friends that I have today on Facebook that are from that time, so they'll understand this story. But we were staying in a tent way up in the mountains, and we were in California, very northern California. And we started to starve up there, and we were about 16 miles, maybe 30 miles from civilization. And we were starving. And hunger takes on a very strange thing. You know, like there's hunger and you feel it, and you know what it's like to be really hungry and your mood starts to shift. This is different. This is like something shifts into overdrive and the hunger becomes very different. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's not like the hunger that you feel normally, okay? It gets very abnormal. So I can only imagine if it goes on longer than a week or two. Like we were probably starving for a week. And we had a young man with us, and he caught a bunch of little tiny catfish and fried them up over a campfire. And I mean, I would never eat something like this, but we were popping them in our mouth. We were so hungry. And we ended up breaking into a cabin, people who came up there for the summers only. And we raided their pantry of anything we could eat. And, by the grace of God, we weren't caught and arrested. I mean, we were so hungry. And the Bible does say, if a man steals because he's hungry, just make sure he pays back, when he's able, or something like that. But so I can imagine that the famine, this is why I completely understand why the people were even willing to sell themselves to have food, because hunger takes on a character that is unlike anything you've ever felt unless you've started to starve. Okay, I love you very much. We'll pick it up tomorrow at Genesis 48. There'll only be 3 more chapters, then we'll move into Exodus, okay? I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Pray for me. I'm praying for you. God bless you. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Nancy. It's her birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Nancy. I love you very much. Keep Nancy in your prayers and in your heart, that she has a wonderful birthday and knows how much the Lord loves her, so much that he died for her. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Good night.